Hi, welcome to Miss Enuff channel, where it gives strategies and tips to women to overcome the pain of self-acceptance. My name is Shar, and I would like to talk to you about Calm in the Storm. That is the title for today. Let me share a little bit about myself. Miss Enuff stemmed from my blog ministry called ehpurpose.com. And so I write blogs, and I got that name from the blog ministry. And so I needed to make a pivot on how I could approach women in a helpful manner, in a way where I can share with them different guidance and tips on how to have acceptance in their life, how to value themselves. Enuff Purpose ministry is for women to find their self-worth after childhood trauma. And so from there, it is to carry out to finding, once you find your acceptance, it's to carry out for you to work your acceptance, work your value. Because once you find it, you need to know how to walk in it, how to live. And so this is where Miss Enuff comes. It's giving women an opportunity to carry through with the tools to live their everyday life, knowing their value, knowing their acceptance in Christ. And so let's go ahead and dive into today's video. So let's get started on the title called Calm in the Storm. I really wanted to touch base on this because this is exactly what I'm going through, and I'm hoping that this will help those who are going through the same or similar thing. And so I'm going to break this up in 3 parts, and so I will be looking down, reading scripture based off this title, Calm in the Storm. So we're going to get started on Mark chapter 4, starting at verse 35. And so when we talk about storms, we talk about the storm that Peter and the disciples and Jesus was in. And so the wind and the waves obeyed Jesus. So verse 35 says, on that day when evening had come, he told them, let's cross over to the other side of the sea. 36 says, so they left the crowd and took him along, since he was in the boat, and other boats were with him. So this first part is before the storm. What we just read was speaking on them getting in the boat, crossing over to the other side of the sea. So there was already a plan before the storm started. So everything seemed fine and handled, and everybody was on their way to get in that boat and cross over. But I wanted to talk a little further on how Jesus was in the boat. So we go through so many things in our life, like storms in like losing our job, or storm with possibly losing our marriage, or just being in different tight situations that we have no control over. Those are the storms I'm talking about. But when we look at scripture and we see that Jesus was in the boat, that means he already know what's going on in your storm. He's already in the storm before the storm started. So we know that in Jeremiah 29:11, he knows the plans. He has a plan for us, plans to prosper and to give us hope. So if he already knows ahead of time, that means he already knows the storm was coming. And for us to get through the storm. He's actually going to join us in that storm, right? So he's going to see it through. Let's continue reading. Verse 38, he was in the stern sleeping on the cushion. So they woke him up and said, "Teacher, don't you care that we're going to die?" So at this point, all of a sudden there's a storm. But Jesus is sleeping. They didn't know he was going to sleep when he got in that storm. But he was sleeping when the storm started. And sometimes we think God is sleeping in our life. We think that he is not paying attention. He's not concerned about our issues, our problems, the storm that we're in. But remember, prior to, he got in the boat. He was already in the boat with the disciples. So he's already in our lives. He's already in the storm. And we can't forget that. We have to be reminded that God is with us. He knew that the storm was coming because everything passes his hand before it happens. Everything, let me say that again, everything passes his hand before it gets to us. And so Jesus was sleeping. They woke him up. Verse 39 said he got up, rebuked the wind, and said to the sea, "Silence, be still." The wind ceased, and there was great calm. So that's the next part we're going to talk about is saving us from the storm. Because when we're in the storm, there's a lot of frustration, there's a lot of disbelief, worry, anxiety, all these feelings and emotions because we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know how it's going to be okay. Because we don't have the control to make it okay. Sometimes in our life, we have to realize that we have to give it all to Christ. We have to know that we may be endured for a night, but joy comes in the morning. We have to know that he has it. He will see us through. He will calm the storm. Like the verse said, he got up from his sleep and he rebuked the wind. And he said to the sea, "Silence, be still." He know when the time is near. He know when to silence the storm because he has the power. He has the authority. This is why we have to put our trust in him, because when we don't know how long the storm's going to last. We don't know if the storm's going to even end, but we have to trust God that it will end. We have to trust God that he will steer and direct us onto the right path. And so he saved them from the storm. They could have been destroyed. The boat could have turned over. It could have killed them. But that lack of faith was also saying in verse 38 at the end, it said, "Teacher, don't you care that we're going to die?" They were already set to think that they were going to die because Jesus was sleeping. But if we know the power that's within him, if we know, have faith of what he can do, because with Christ, all things are possible. If we had that faith, we would never lack it. We wouldn't lack it. We wouldn't think, oh, we're about to die. Oh, something about to happen horrible. He keeps us in his hands. He said that he'll never leave us nor forsake us. And so, in conclusion, there was a great calm after that storm. And sometimes we have to believe that there will be a great calm after the storm, after we go through all the things we went through, because sometimes storms are made or they happen to correct us and to perfect us and to really sit us down because we didn't listen prior to the season before. We didn't listen. So this season we have to sit. This season it's a silent storm. This season we have to just trust God and obey his word, obey his path, go down his path, because we have made so many mistakes of doing it ourselves. And so be encouraged. Know that he is in control. of your situation, of the storm. The storm will have a great calm. We just have to trust him. Trust that he's in the boat. Trust that he's not sleeping and that he knows what's going on. And trust that he will give a great calm and the storm will be over and you will be able to continue and live another day. I hope this encouraged someone. I hope this helped you. Go ahead and hit the like button if this has spoken to you. And go ahead and subscribe if you want to continue hearing more about how to value yourself and trust God even in the storm. You can follow me on TikTok at Miss Enuff, as well as Instagram, ehpurpose movement, and my Facebook new group will be Miss Enuff Society. And so share, comment. I would love to hear your thoughts. I would just love to hear from you. Be blessed, and I'll see you next time. Enough said. Peace.